Main event, UFC 293. It's Israel Adesanya taking on Sean Strickland for the middleweight belt. As always, one half of your hosting duo, Craig Allen. Twitter and Instagram, at Craig Allen FNP. With me to my left, to your right, respective socials, Matt Allen FNP. And in this main event, it's not Dricus Du Plessis. It was announced about a month ago by Dana White that Sean Strickland would be taking this fight. And listen, that announcement sandwiched between his win in the main event against unlikely challenger Abus Magomedov outside of the rankings, and then this matchup against Adesanya. For Adesanya, 10 straight main event. The last time a fighter had 10 straight main events, Matt, it was the Korean Zombie taking on Max Holloway not that long ago. TKZ off into the sunset. So when we have a look at this fight, Matt, I mean, for Adesanya, second run as the middleweight champ. His last time out in April, he dispatched his rival, Alex Pereira. Sent him up to light heavyweight, did he? And Matt, when we look at this fight, I mean, for Adesanya on the outside with his kicks and his kickboxing, we know how good it can be. And for Sean Strickland, we know how crazy the pressure can be.
Oh, yeah.
And he has great cardio, and he can last all 5 rounds. You saw that in the fight against Jared Cannonier, where it was a really tight affair. More the power shots out of Cannonier to the volume out of Strickland. But even after that, on incredibly short notice, Strickland accepts the challenge up at 205 pounds, taking on Nasrat Nimavov, wears on him with the pressure. He's able to win that fight. And again, against Magomedov, withstands the early storm in the first round to finish him in the second round and make him look like a chump. So when you look at this fight, I know people are going to have it either way. A lot of people want to see Strickland win because they just don't like Israel Adesanya. They want some of that new blood like Sean O'Malley winning the title. But when you look at a fight like this, kind of an unlikely challenger, you're getting a look.
Yeah, plus 440 title challenger. They don't come around that often, guys. I can give 2 breakdowns of this fight. I can give one that is quite reductive to Sean Strickland and his ability to win this fight, but I want to give that one first. It's a little bit more fun. If Sean Strickland fights somebody who doesn't have exceptional punching power, really good footwork, or great cardio, he looks like a world beater. Like, let's give him his flowers with those respects. If he is able to just march forward and doesn't really respect what's coming back his way, he's going to put on a clinic with his own output and with his own boxing combinations. But if you are a guy like a Jared Cannonier, and that fight was a close fight, don't get me wrong, it's not like Cannonier ran him over or anything, then Sean Strickland isn't as dedicated to that volume game. And yes, he outstruck Cannonier, but it's not that same in-your-face type of striking that we normally see from a Sean Strickland. And if you do have exceptional footwork, you can evade some of those strikes of Strickland because he does tend to come in on a straight line and really he does a good job of cornering his opponent after they're behind those 2 black lines. But in the center of the cage, he can get caught just waiting every now and then, like we saw against Alex Pereira. That was just the dumbest game plan I've ever seen in my life.
I'm not gonna take him down.
Yeah, what if I march straight forward with my chin up against potentially the most terrifying striker we've ever seen in the UFC? But I'll just chalk that one up to it wasn't his night. But for Strickland, if he doesn't, I just said, those 3 elements are really big and very important in a Sean Strickland fight. Let's just look at Israel Adesanya really quick. Does he hit hard? Yeah, he hits really hard. Especially
you see the Paulo Costa fight with just kicks.
Yeah, you saw he knocked out Alex Pereira with 1 punch. And then hit him a few more times and did a crazy celebration. But Adesanya, he hits quite hard. We can all agree on that. He has good footwork. I think that's fair to say. Some of the best, I'd argue, we've ever seen in the weight division. And does he have good cardio? Yeah, he doesn't really fall off a cliff at any point throughout his fights. He is someone who will kick not only in the first round, but in the 4th and the 5th round too. And I think that's something that people are starting to catch on to a lot more. It's, hey, kicks in MMA are kind of like 3-point shooting in the NBA. It's going to get you a lot of wins, don't get me wrong, but it's a lot harder to make those threes when you're tired in the 4th and 3rd quarter. Same thing with kicks. You do see fighters who are very kick heavy start to fall off and plateau near the end of fights just because it takes so much energy throwing those types of techniques. But for Adesanya, he does a great job with his own elusiveness on the back foot. He can land counter shots for power especially and from different angles as well. And I don't think this is a case of, oh, if Strickland can just get to the 3rd round, he can start to overcome Israel Adesanya. So since he doesn't have any of those 3 building blocks in place for him, I do think it's a difficult fight for Strickland to go out there and make a game plan for. Because is he a better grappler than Adesanya? Probably, if we're really counting every part of their games. But Adesanya is really good defensive grappler, especially at this stage of his career. It's the one thing that everyone's tried to exploit for the longest time in his career. Yes, Jan Blachowicz was able to take him down, up 20 pounds, but Sean Strickland used to fight at 170. Jan Blachowicz would have to cut off both his legs to make 170 pounds.
Sean Strickland's last title fight was this time 10 years ago with King of the Cage. Strickland was the middleweight champ with King of the Cage, and then he came into the UFC. He's been 14-5 since that point. 170, a little bit of a problem, diminishing returns. The Eliseu Zaleski dos Santos fight is one that people go back to, the spinning wheel kick knockout. But when you look at Strickland at 185 pounds. Look at the last two losses. Alex Pereira, Jared Cannonier, the split decision in the main event. Imavov, and then, of course, last time out against Abus Magomedov. Matt, that was Canada Day. The family, they were over. We were watching the fireworks. And I was watching Sean Strickland absolutely decimate Magomedov. And we knew how big of a striker Magomedov could be.
What would Adesanya do to him?
Again, when he fell off in the second round, that was it. He was huffing and puffing for air as we were going between the rounds. So if you look at Strickland, A-plus cardio. We know that.
Definitely.
He's got really good durability. He can continue to march forward in the majority of these fights. We've seen a little bit of an uptick in the volume and the aggressiveness since that horrible motorcycle accident that he had where he lost a piece of his kneecap. And hardly anybody's targeted his legs with leg kicks. Strickland does a pretty good job of at least trying to check a lot of the leg kicks, and that could dissuade a lot of people from making that a target. But if you look at it for Strickland, I mean, when he's fighting guys that maybe weren't the best in the division, but we all remember the Jack Marshman fight where he's trying to egg him into it, the Brendan Allen fight where he's finishing him in the second round, and even the Uriah Hall fight that was pretty sad. It's been an impressive performance for Sean Strickland as he's gone along. And again, he fought such names as Crusher, Court McGee, Nordin Taleb in Moncton, New Brunswick, Canada. And of course, Jack Marshman, a fight that nobody will ever forget. Hermanson, yes. So when it does come down to this matchup, Matt, Adesanya, good with the strike on the outside. The only thing that I'm going to look for throughout this fight week is if people start to talk about Adesanya moving up to 205. That's the conversation. I'm picking Sean Strickland to win this fight because it happened with Usman, it happened with Sterling during the fight week before a title fight, and they both lost. So I don't want to hear that out of City Kickboxing or Adesanya, who just turned 34 ahead of this contest. But Matt, we have a look at this one. Adesanya is pretty darn big favorite. We threw it out to you guys in the YouTube community tab, and you guys do an awesome job at throwing out the comments and the votes for these. 769 votes as of the last couple hours. 76% going with Adesanya. Some of the comments. Fight Hive. I think Izzy might go back to his snooze fest ways. Sean won't be able to find Izzy with how slowly he plods around, and Izzy might try to just drift on the outside and play Matador for 5 rounds. Sad, but I think likely. Izzy by boring 50-45. Bill Shakespeare, you gotta be a next level Izzy hater to pick Strickland here. And Jack Lawson saying the only downside to Strickland winning is that we won't get to see Dricus humiliate Adesanya. So Matt, when you are making a pick on this one, again, it's tough when you have a fighter who's so big of a favorite in Adesanya. There's definitely talking points for Strickland with the jawing. I'm sure the press conference and everything's going to be interesting in the build up to this one. But for me, I have Israel Adesanya, and I don't think that's going to be a surprise to many people.
Do you know Jaylen Brown's going to play in a Big 3 game? It's pretty exciting, right? I think Israel Adesanya is going to beat Sean Strickland, and I'll just let that Jaylen Brown Big 3 reference.
No,
he's probably going to score 70 in that game.
I picked Aljamain Sterling to beat Sean O'Malley, so main events aren't always right, and title fights aren't always right.
But I also did say the exact way Sean O'Malley would win that fight if he did, and it would be Aljamain overextending on a shot and getting hit by a counter. So I do think we bring up some red flags for the challengers, even if we don't pick them. And just for Strickland, I bring it up. The 3 ways he wins the majority of his fights. Adesanya does counter all 3 of those big assets that Sean Strickland does have. And I think Strickland's going to be around in the top 10 for a long time because his skill set is one of those, hey, it's kind of like a fraud check, right? Like if you don't have great cardio, if you're a bit of a pretender and not really a contender, Sean Strickland's going to be the guy to get to the root of a lot of your weaknesses in your MMA game. But I just don't think his plotting forward style is going to work against Adesanya in this matchup. Hopefully it is a fun fight. Hopefully it's not like what a few of our commenters have said, just one of those Adesanya playing on the back foot, landing a few pitter-patter counter shots. Because if he does do that, he can definitely get the win, but it's not really going to set up any of the future opponents like the Dricus Duplessis fight that I know a lot of people are excited for.
It will be a big-time matchup in this main event. Both of us going with the Last Stylebender to get the win. Matt, that Sean Strickland walkout, like the Saints come marching in or whatever it is, it's just one of the worst in all of MMA, but we're looking forward to it. Again, a lot of debuting fighters on this card. There's 5 of them total. There's 3 second times out. There's a rematch that ended in a no contest due to an eye poke between Justin Tafa and Austin Lane. It's one of the weaker pay-per-view cards that you're going to see this year. But again, moving it forward, the next Fight Night card, UFC Noche, they're building that one up big time. There's a title fight in the main event, the rematch between Grasso and Shevchenko. If anything changes throughout this fight week, because it did last week with UFC Paris. You guys make sure you subscribe and you toss a like on the video so you know that we go live and when these videos are about to drop. Question mark kicks should be at a relatively normal time here on Saturday. It's always 2 hours before the prelims, unless something changes. And we're pretty early about getting those ones out. So you can always find us X and Instagram at Craig Allen FNP, at Matt Allen FNP here for Fight Week. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, we always say. Let's get into it.